So we're here today with Jan McGall, Director of the Mental Health Services in Southern Trust, and we're going to be talking about recovery and wellness in general terms. So Jan, if I could just ask you, what does recovery mean to you when you hear that phrase?
Thanks, Lynn. It's great to be joining you today. I suppose I was thinking about that in preparation for meeting with you today, and I remember when I first came across the concept of recovery, I had moved to a new job. I'm an occupational therapist by background, and I've always spent my career in mental health services. And in the moving to the new job, and I was clearing out the office of the person that was there before, and I found a Mary Ellen Copeland book on recovery. And obviously, being an OT, it's all about life, no matter what the circumstances are and what you want to get out of that. So, the themes and essence of recovery, that ability to be who you are, even if you're burdened by symptoms or things don't go well all of the time, just that potential of moving on really struck me when I read that Mary Ellen Copeland book. So I suppose for me, recovery is about hope. It is about that nothing stays the same. The mantra of this too shall pass has always been very important to me personally. So it gives you that sense of no matter how bad or good it is, things are constantly changing. And with the constant change gives that wee bit of hope of movement, of something potentially getting better. So I think hope is really important for me. Recovery is also about the person. There's no prescription that comes with it. And everybody's recovery journey will be very unique to them. And what's really important to one person is not necessarily as important to another. So I suppose I always think about it, if I ever am not able to do things that I want to do, as long as somebody helps me get ready, get my makeup on, and get my hair done, I don't care that I haven't done it. If I'm wanting to use my energy for something that I want to be able to do. So I suppose it's about that journey of what's important to one person is something different to somebody else, and that uniqueness of the recovery journey. And I think the other thing is that change is possible. And it might seem difficult, but there are always people or services or something that can hold your hand or hold you up if you're not able to hold that yourself. And that reassurance that there is something in the background. It might not always feel that way, but there absolutely is something or someone in the background who will have your back, who will try to help you move on. And that sense of security that there is hope and possibility out there. So for me, recovery is about that. It's about living the life that you want to live, no matter what is going on for you, and accepting there's going to be ups and downs and roughs and smooths, but as long as there's movement and progress, that gives you the hope that things are going to get slightly better.
Oh, that is so chiming with me. But you mentioned Mary Ellen Copeland. Of course, that's the person who originated rap. And when I was doing my own personal rap many years ago, someone coined the phrase, let others hold hope for you. If you're not able to do it yourself, trust us to hold the hope for you. And I find that's really stuck with me in my journey. And we would also hear themes about accepting that growth is part of life and change is where the best growth comes from, even though it can be a bit difficult at times. So again, through my own journey as a person of experience, I have had not a straightforward A to B transition, but mine has gone backward and forward and up and down. And it was about learning to navigate that, knowing who to contact at what point, who the best source of support was. And it wasn't always the statutory services. In fact, many of the tools I use now were guided by initially key workers and all, but I've self-managed now almost completely. So the journey is still open. There's a lot to learn for me. And I'm expanding out now away from the diagnoses and the management into general well-being, into personal development, into expanding relationships, expanding ways to explore the options that weren't available to me 10 years ago because I wasn't well enough. So it really did chime with me. Then I would tie in the work I do as well with Flights of Hope here, where we're gathering in the stories of people, general wellness beyond diagnoses. Because at the end of the day, I know you'll agree, diagnoses can be very helpful, but they are at the end of the day able to assist medical and clinical staff to give you the best help that you need. the symptoms are the symptoms, no matter what the label. And when you break it down that way, we realised during lockdown that so many people were beginning to experience early onset symptoms who had never had any kind of wellness challenge before. Anxiety, isolation, um, a sense of helplessness or hopelessness or feeling trapped. And we would increasingly find those people reaching out saying, where do I start? And times have changed. The start is no longer at the door of mental health services. The start is in the community. The start is in peer support. The start is in projects like our own. And I know that we, going forward, will be gathering a lot of stories that will contain tips and talk of connection and successes, no matter how small they may seem. They will, of course, be large successes to that person. So, pulling it back, if I had to name a success recently, I think it would be taking on the courage to learn a new language or to start learning a new language. And there's a lot of anxiety comes with that, and I'm doing quite well with it. So, what's your wellness success at the minute on a personal level?
I suppose for me, wellness is really important because lives are very busy, and you can run along and not realise that thing, it's taken out of you. So, I suppose for me, wellness is about remembering that I'm important and that whilst I might have 100 other jobs and juggles to do, they can only be good and successful if I'm well and myself. So wellness tips for me at the minute are that I like to run. I can't run as far or as fast as I used to do, but you know what? I'll go out and I'll plod along, and it might take me a lot of self-talk to get out the door because there's always lots of other things that I would should be doing, or my mind's telling me not tonight, and I'm thinking, no, I'm going out that door, rain, hail, or shine, and I'm going to give it a go. And the sense of achievement you get when you come back. So for me, a run or a trot or a jog, whatever you want to call it. And I suppose when I'm feeling particularly overwhelmed, I like to go to the seaside because there's something in the expanse of the sea that reminds me I am just one tiny dot in a huge big world. And what seems huge and overwhelming to me is quite minor in the scale of things. And it also, it's a bit like the tide, it'll ebb and flow, it'll go and it'll come. So there's something about just perspective. The seaside gives me perspective that I might be feeling overwhelmed, but I'm one tiny person in a huge world. And this hugeness that I'm feeling isn't actually huge in comparison. So there is something very refreshing about just the expanse, the constant of the, all of that will still go on whether I worry or not. So there's something very grounding about that for me.
And of course, gives you quiet time to find yourself in the middle of the world around you. Because if we lose track of who we are, we're no good to anybody else if we're trying to help. I'm in the same position. It can be very easy to get pulled away from that. And I've returned to some old interests and things over the years. Like yourself, I'm not as good at them as I used to be, but I still enjoy them. And I was talking to a girl the other day. For her, it was cookery. For somebody else, it was gardening. For somebody else, it was a once a week meet up in a coffee shop.
I suppose it's about remembering that it's for you. So it doesn't really matter how good you are or how expert you are if it all turns out right. As long as you've enjoyed the process of it and got something out of the process, that's for me good enough at the moment.
Yeah, we're both familiar with the world of mental health, of course, but everyone does have mental well-being, and everybody can influence that for the better. And there are many resources out in the community to help them do that, and there are professionals on hand when you need that little bit more of a leg up. I've lived on both sides of that fence, and it has worked for me. So my final message, I suppose, would be, I know it works because I have lived it. It hasn't always been a super smooth journey, but it has been lots of small steps, and I've celebrated each and every one of them. So that would be the thing I would focus in on if times get a bit tough. It's just one more small step.
And I have seen over my career marvelous recovery journeys, and the difference that that makes to people's lives. I'll give you a story. I had a patient previously, and I worked a long time with him in a day hospital type facility, and we worked together to just try to get out and about and get the basics there. And then we moved on, and the gentleman wanted to think about work, hadn't worked for years. And it was Christmas time. And we got a bit of support, and he put in an application to do the Christmas post. So he's going around the doors, posting the Christmas cards with this huge bag of all the weighty cards, and it was raining and it was snowy, and I have never seen somebody so proud of themselves.
Oh,
And it was, he also had a wage that he could then do something else with, and he was able to buy gifts that he hadn't been able to do before. And he came in one day and he said to me, "You know what? I don't mind my shoulders cut, and I don't mind that my back is sore, because actually I am productive. I have done something. I am something." And he didn't want to continue to work beyond the Christmas period, but that time, and his wellness continued in the shape or form, but that time was really important to him, and it was lovely to have come along that journey with him. And it always kind of reminds me that nothing is beyond possibility. It's just at the time of the truth for you. And sometimes you need a wee bit of support to do that, and sometimes you can do it yourself. So I think you're absolutely right. There are lots of supports out there, and the most important and the bravest thing is to just try and seek help or seek support, or recognize that things are not great. Because there are many people that will listen. They might not have all of the answers, but they could help direct you to where you get the answers, or the conversation with them could be enough just to set you on your own path.
Yeah, that's a lovely tone to end the conversation on, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to hear other people's take on wellness management, on recovery. And the final word, I think we were in agreement, would be hope and potential.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nothing
Okay.
really stays the same. There's always the hope for change, and somebody will help you if you don't hold it yourself.
No. Well, we really appreciate your time speaking with us today.
Thank you.
Hopefully we will touch base with you and some of the other staff in the future.